That was the most poorly timed burp of all time, Chris. That's disgusting. Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's Chris Ford, a.k.a. the Adjective Geek. Geek.
Geep? What the heck
And
is
I
a
don't know what a
geep?
geep is. I was trying to... The Objective Belcher, the Belchjective Geep, or whatever. I messed it up again. Long story short, that was totally Chris. That wasn't me. Welcome to Avatar The Last Podcasters. Very excited about today's episode because we got our famous people review copies that only famous people can get. Definitely not just by sending an email asking politely. Nothing to do with that. Of the Legacy of Yangchen, and we've both finished it. And so today we're going to do a spoiler-free review. Now we might have like some light content, but there will be no spoilers of anything that will ruin your experience. And I would say in this book there's a few places where that plays a pretty big role. And I usually don't care that much about spoilers, but there's a few places in this book where you're just not supposed to know things until a certain point. So
That is true.
So yeah, no spoilers in this one. Next, I'm going to say 2 weeks, most likely. We will split up a much bigger, much more detailed, totally full of all the spoilers review. That'll be the next 2 weeks. But not this one, Chris. Not this one. How you been, though, before we get started? Before we dive in?
Feeling great despite the freaking somber conversation I brought in
Chris
just a
comes in,
minute ago. I need to
eating his ice cream, talking about depressing stuff. And you know what? Hey, there is no bad time.
Not,
There is no bad
I'm
time to
not.
remind you that you are worth it. And if you're going through things, find somebody to talk to about it. And don't bottle it up inside, Chris.
I should clarify. I am not depressed in any sense.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just that the random things that I was talking about was some very depressing stuff.
I was like, Chris,
But
pick a
anyway.
topic. And he's like, what can I do to depress Shawn? No,
But it first started off very nicely talking about uh, um, great white women who black people love.
it did start in a fun place. It started it very innocently. I don't know how it evolved to the other stuff. Also, I've got a
Anyway,
list of a couple bands that I have to go listen to now.
yeah,
Bobby Caldwell, Paramore. I keep wanting to
Paramore.
say Pantera. I'm like, what is he talking about? I know
No,
Pantera,
I'm
not
curious.
Pantera. Paramore. Very different.
I'm curious if Theo likes Paramore. That would if he
That would solidify, and
would that solidify
his
that black people love Paramore.
well, in music is his,
Yeah,
is his lifestyle. It is his income to some degree. So that would be a neat opinion to have. Theo, holler at us. Do you like Paramore? We're curious. It's for science. Anyway, check on your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Don't bottle your feelings up. Talk about them to people. Chris, other than that, how are you doing?
dude, I was there. Do you know who Bobby Caldwell is? I know you do. Gotta know. I hope you know. Anyway, I'm doing great. Uh, Doing good. My daughter has a birthday party tomorrow. I should have some family in, and I kind of not nervous, but I'm just like I don't like planning things and events.
It's not
Not my
nerves.
thing.
It's just that kind of light family anxiety where you're like, is the house kind of clean? Is everything to
Yeah,
like visitor standard?
yeah. But no, everything's great. Sean, how are you?
I had a pretty difficult day today for kind of a lot of random reasons. Nothing worth going into detail about, but this weekend should be a lot of fun. Got like a neat date night with me and my wife. Never go. We live in Kansas City, quote unquote. We never go
Hmm.
to Kansas City. So tomorrow night we're gonna go just like downtown and spend the evening downtown and stuff together because
Nice.
busy season at both of our jobs. So just like a busy couple weeks. So very excited for to talk about this book. Been looking forward to this since I finished it yesterday, and B for a fun
I
one.
was about to, I was about to get more somber. Like why is this time of season busy for Heather? Is there a certain uh peak with a certain age demographic dying or
There
something? Or
there are different peaks. There's a planning peak, which is usually like January, right? Like people talk with their
okay.
relatives over Christmas, like, "Hey, you're gonna die someday. You better figure that out." So January is like a
Mm,
planning peak, and then the actual passing away usually coincides with temperature extremes. More so in the winter, but still in the summer also. That's a weird looking bug on my wall. I don't like that bug. Get out of here, bug. Ew. So
This video today. On the flip side of death in my life, I randomly came across a video today about like it was like this person does videos for every month for people's birthdays. Like, hey, happy birthday! It's May. Happy birthday, May people. And then some they sing a song about May. And I came across one that was August. Happy birthday, August people. Don't know why, but your your parents are really like going around Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Like this is like August for some reason is the highest month of births, and then I've felt attacked because two of my kids' birthdays are in August.
you'd think after Thanksgiving you'd be too full to do anything. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Heather and I have tried to. We have always kept an interest in when we get calls about foster kids, which I never talk about that. Sometimes we say yes, sometimes we say no. Nothing. Sometimes when you say yes, they're like, "Oh, sorry, we found kinship or we found like a closer, better placement."
Mm-hmm.
But we're always like interested on like when it's babies of how that there's no way to go into this without like making it bad, but like yeah, like how old are they and when roughly were they conceived? Just out of curiosity. And yeah, there's a lot of August and September birthdays, a lot of them.
And then I backtracked for some reason. I backtracked me and my sisters, and only one is like even relatively close to saying anything significant. Don't know why I did that to myself. That was a bad mistake. Anyway, we've been going
Let's
on
talk
too
about
far.
the book.
Let's get to this book.
This has been Death and Sex with Chris and Shawn on this podcast where we talk about a cartoon that children are allowed to watch. Now, a children's cartoon, that's different. Chris, let's talk summary. Again, there might be some content details, but we promise we won't share anything too crazy. We just wanted to give our general encouraging or discouraging thoughts against you reading or not reading the book. Go ahead.
You go first.
Oh, me go first.
No,
Oh, I would love
you
to
go
go first, Chris.
because I think you already know maybe where I'm at, and I haven't even asked you where you're at purposely because I want to hear it first time on the podcast. So
that's awesome.
You go ahead and share your thoughts.
Thank you, Chris. My high level thoughts are that this could be my second favorite book, right behind the initial Kyoshi novel. Could be my second. But what keeps it from that is, and I didn't listen to our podcast before, but I know we've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the writing style of where you deliberately withhold information, which essentially the heist movie trope, right? The narrator knows it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main characters, if not multiple, know it. And that is a recurring theme here is that there's just sort of
he did it like at least 3 times.
3 big times, yeah. And one time I don't even feel like it was necessary, and I won't go into details for risk of spoiling. But there was at least one of those times where I was like, that didn't even add any drama. You could have just.
I was like, it would have been better if you just did it in chronological order. I would have followed it. But I don't know what we're talking. But there was definitely a moment there where I was just like,
I know we're talking about the.
This wasn't even a twist.
It wasn't.
Put it there.
It was. I think we're both talking about the one before the game that they play with the Zongdu, and he had like 3 hours earlier, like in a SpongeBob.
Yeah.
This is so frustrating.
Exactly.
So it can be more or less forgivable. That one instance I said was unforgivable. The other 2 instances, if I'm going to cut it some slack, it is because a lot of this book is kind of told through Kavik's eyes. And Kavik didn't really know about one of those circumstances, and he kind of sort of knew. But long story short, I loved the story that was told, and I thought it was very engaging front to back. I take a lot of issue with that writing style, and there's, again, at least 3 big occurrences of it here that sort of pissed me off. So I'm going to say roughly probably better than first Yangchen, probably worse than second Kyoshi, just at a quick ballpark feeling. So my third favorite, I think.
So okay. I thought you just said a second ago that it was your second
I
favorite.
said could be my second favorite, but
Could
those
be.
things
Okay.
made me so mad.
Gotcha. Okay. That's still good.
It's still, no, it was good. And don't forget that
Great.
it's not our favorite, but we did like the previous Yangchen book also. Like,
Yeah.
don't let us give you the wrong impression. Chris, tell me how you feel.
So I went into this book a little bit apprehensive because we share pretty close feelings, probably same feelings on the Dawn of Yangchen book. Like we liked it, but it just had a few like annoying things in it. Like it was too much about the Game of Thrones, the political movement, and not enough action. Side characters I didn't care as much about. Um, the unanimity, what it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it would be. Still
This
like the book
book,
though. So
this book made it feel bigger in a good way. I thought. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
Like
No,
last
you're
book,
right.
it didn't
You're
feel
absolutely
big.
right.
This big, it did.
Yeah, it did. I don't, and I'm kind of puzzled here. I need to go back and read the first book. So I'm just like, what for me changed in between these books? I mean, like certain aspects work better for me in this book than the last book, and I haven't pinned down why that is. Maybe in this conversation or in the spoiler review, I can pin down that.
I think
But I really enjoyed this book. Long story short,
I
really
think it
liked
had to
it.
do with the sort of buildup of the origins and not to the last time it was like a who done it almost. It was, you're
Ooh,
building up to what the thing was.
mm,
This time the tension and the drama came from the origins of unanimity, and it just made it feel bigger in a right way, in a suspenseful kind of horrifying way. And I think that's why
yeah,
it for
yeah.
me hooked better this time than last time.
Hmm.
Last time we were waiting for a weapon. Let's be honest, man. We were waiting for some kind of
Mm,
I don't know, some kind of spirit is what I was waiting for in the last book. I think we talked about that to
hmm.
to be unleashed, but
Yeah, I should. My ranking, I think, would be my rating would be that I do love this book. Like I did love reading this book. I read it. I want to say in less than a week, which is pretty good. Um,
yeah, for us, sorry, not for if you're like an avid reader and that sounds funny to you.
I I would probably rank it similar to you, exactly as you, because for me it is first Kyoshi book, second Kyoshi book, this book, and then Dawn of Yangchen.
You enjoyed the order is still the same. I think you enjoyed the second Kyoshi book probably more than me. Like to me, it's pretty
Yeah,
close with this one. I do feel like you
yeah.
enjoyed the second
I
Kyoshi book.
enjoyed the second Kyoshi book way more than this one,
Yeah. Okay.
which is
Yeah, I
saying a
got a
lot. 'Cause I
small
love
gap.
this book.
Yeah, I got a small gap.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I think it is fair to call this book, and I still want you to read it. And that's my end review here is that this is a good book for Avatar fans, for Yang Chen fans. It's very what's the word? It's very gratifying. There's a lot of gratification. I don't want to say it's like a happy ending. A lot of like sad things happen, but it's a very gratifying book.
Yeah.
So go read it. But I will say that it is a bit like it feels like a heist novel, a heist story. And so if you laugh really hard at that episode of Rick and Morty where they make fun of heists, and you're like, "Ha, stupid heists," yet this probably won't be your favorite. But I still think any Avatar fan who's read any of the books is still gonna enjoy this one.
So what are and I can go first. What are maybe your two or three favorite aspects of the book? Um, for me,
Yeah, give me just a
I
minute.
would say, yeah. For me, Yang Chen, it's even more. She's even more interesting in this book than the last one. Because like in the last one, she was like introduced kind of to the more financial greedy ways of the world. In this one, she is like integrated herself in it. I mean, she's not greedy and stuff, but she's like, all right, in order to get this done, I gotta do this, and I gotta placate this person. I gotta sue this person's ego. I gotta either threaten this person this way and this way. Like, she's a boss lady. Yang Chen, like, she is. Reading this book, I am, I was inspired to write or to make a short video on how Yang Chen is probably the worst air nomad there is. like I in my video ideas that we have, Shawn, podcast ideas, episode ideas. I
Sure.
have one of those like, is Aang a bad air nomad? And like after reading this, I'm like, he is probably a great one
Pales in
compared to
comparison.
compared to Yang Chen. He's a freaking uh angel of an air nomad.
Um, my favorite moments that jumped out of me right away. First, I think that Kavik is very well written, as is Yang Chen, but like Kavik is in a delicate situation. I think they pour his emotions onto the page in a way that's very easy to read and very engaging. I like how
Yeah,
Chase.
speaking of
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
just adding on to the dang, my stupid headphones aren't working great. To add on to the add on to the Kavik stuff. I did not really care for Kavik in the first book. Like he was there, and then I remember reading this book, and Kavik hasn't been in it for a while, and Yang Ching gets put into a certain situation where you're like, oh, I want to know what happened, and then like the next chapter, it's like in Kavik's point of view. I was like, I don't care about this person, Kavik, but then understanding where he's at, his dynamic with other characters in the book, including Yang Chen, makes him way more interesting. Like he is the black sheep of the group. He has no home in a certain sense. Like who is he in allegiance with?
They
Is it
write.
this group? Is
Yeah.
it that group? Is it that group? Um, which made him, and also he still kind of wants to redeem himself from the last book because he betrayed Yang Chen.
I like that
So that
he's
made him
not.
way more interesting in this book.
I like that he's not true gray area. You don't really guess. You don't have to guess who he's going to side with.
Yeah.
But you understand they write the turmoil that he's going through really well. And it's something,
Hmm.
Chris, you and I don't think about it so much, but I think that it's important. Video games, movies, you you don't lock your audience out. It's got to be, if you're a sequel, you want people to be able to see the sequel and enjoy the sequel independently of the previous movie. You can't, in video games, movies, you can't block those people out. Books don't give a shit. Like if you haven't read the previous book, this book won't mean anything to you. Kavik won't mean anything to you. The story. Books don't care. Like no, you go read the first one, and then you come to this book. And that's, on one hand, like we're saying all these things about the previous book. On the other hand, like that book, in hindsight, well, it set up so many things nicely that now I care about in this book that I'm not
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
forgive it, but I'm going to remember that a series of books is more of a process than,
Mm.
a movie and a decent sequel, or a video game
Yeah.
and a decent sequel. Um, Chicey is not the best villain of all time, but I like how she's written. She's kind of an interesting, different villain. And
Yeah.
and there's a moment where they kind of place her origin, like a dramatic moment that I really liked.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, that happens. For me, that happened early in the book because they start off with Chicey or Chasey.
yeah.
Um,
Honestly, I say chai because of chai tea, and I was like,
oh, okay.
I think
Well, you
that's of
might be
Asian
right then.
origin, but
Somewhere around there,
oh,
or it might Asian specifically. I think it might be like India,
okay, maybe so.
and I just know that from the Spider-Man movie because chai means tea, and then so like he was like, it's stupid when people call it chai tea because chai just means tea, so you're calling it tea. But
I hadn't thought about that line in a very long time.
um, yeah, Chasey,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chasey,
Spoiler alert. Chicey's the villain, I guess. I'm pretty sure you already knew that.
yeah. Yeah, but that was at the end of the book, pretty much.
Yeah, they kind of
But
spelled
yeah,
it out in advance.
they introduced some of her origin, and like I immediately, after reading her origin, like, oh, I understand this character way more. Like I get her ambitions, I get why she's doing
It
this.
was a cool intro. It was a different than I
Yeah,
expected intro. Um, those are the two things that jumped out at me at first. The third thing, when I tried, like when I sat and I dwelled and I thought a little harder, is that I thought that we've talked about before, he does a pretty good job of painting the action scenes, and this book isn't full of them. Probably not to the Kyoshi levels, but more than the last Yang Chen book. And he just does a
definitely.
nice job of painting good pictures of action scenes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That was probably one of the aspects that I found to be best. Like there are. I don't even remember that. The only action scenes I remember from the Dawn of Yangchen is at the end there where she's like fighting unanimity. Um, but here there's a couple of different ones, and yeah, he makes them work really really well. Thought the action really picked up.
Yeah, I think of two from the previous book. This one had a little more, and I do think he just does a great, a great job of spelling it out in a literal sense. So yeah, those are my three positive takeaways. Uh, Only negative takeaways again, that writing style, and it's still a bit Game of Thronesy. Like, well, if I let this person do this, and then that person do that, like it's still got a bit of that I don't. I'll say I don't mind it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I think it was done a lot better in this book. In the last book, oh, there's just so much talk about trade and stuff. Like, you know, maybe it was harder because like I'm getting introduced to this world and their rules and what's the history behind it and stuff. While in this one, I can dive a little more deeper, dive a little easier into it. And also, Yang Chen is more heavily involved in it. Like is the she is responsible for uh, the trades of like one city in the Earth Kingdom, which puts her right in line with everyone else, like right in the thick of it. She's no longer like a spectator on the side. It's so weird that dichotomy of Yang Chen. Like if I wanted to have a meme that I keep thinking about of like Yang Chen in the animated series, just wholesome monk, like all ascended, like angelic almost, and then Yang Chen in this novel, just spending money, like having heaps of money around her, stuff, or like an accountant and stuff like that. Um, or yeah, it's a complete
She's the
difference.
Shang pimp.
Yeah, who's
Um,
like almost like she is. There's a scene I love where she threatens in the nicest way possible to people, and to people on the outside, it looks like a really good gesture, but the people who know who's like on the inside things like she cornered us into doing this. Like I, she Ancient is such an interesting character.
she is. I As a character, I prefer Kyoshi and sort of
Yeah,
Kyoshi's dilemmas and dramas. But I
Kyoshi is like all drama, and like Kyoshi is like
it's big drama
difference
though.
in these two novels.
It's not
It
political
yeah
drama. It's like violent and love drama. It's
yeah, it's so strong. Her stories. It's like I want to kill this person, and it's like I'm gonna love this person. Like it's Kyoshi's emotions are so strong, while Yang Chen's aren't that way. Yang Chen is so subdued. Things just stay inside. Like she's pissed on the inside a lot of times, especially in this book. You notice like something will happen to someone, and she won't. No one will see her react to it in a way, but on the inside, like through someone's perspective, thinking about her, or through her own perspective, you can tell like she is just boiling over and furious. Um, Granted, there's yeah, and that makes her so interesting of a character. And I've been thinking so much about the difference in these avatars. And one of our videos that I want to do coming up is just like what avatars would hate each other depending on their their character or their the way that they went about their job of being the avatar. Because some of them would flat out disagree, and I think hate other avatars. Like Zeto would probably love Yang Chen, but Yang Chen
yeah.
might not love Zeto because she'd be like, "Ah, you created like this system of like duty for the Avatar to respond to be like fiscally
Also,
responsible for the four nations."
would Zeto have been like, "No, you're doing it wrong." It's
Oh,
we don't have a lot on Zeto's like traits to judge on, but
yeah,
I see the flip side there, or like I want them to know everything. I want them to know the whole story. Like I want Yang Chen and Kuruk in a room, but Yang Chen knows the whole Kuruk story, not just the not just the parts that
Yeah,
people
yeah,
don't like, right? And then I want to see like, oh, I think those two would actually have a lot of mutual respect for their weird battles that they independently had to overcome.
yeah. There's definitely gonna be an episode we do in the future because I mean lately one of my thought processes at night, thought experiments at night to better go to sleep is just go through each avatar and what they think about the other avatars. I'll start with Juan and then go to Zeto, then go to Yangchen, then Quirk, then Kyoshi. Like who does he like and stuff, and then I'll go. And then by the time I get to like Zeto, halfway through Zeto, waiting about the avatars, I'm asleep by then.
As soon as you get to the finance guy,
Yeah, he's freaking boring. He would, like I said, he would love Yang Chen. He would hate Kyoshi.
he would at least respect, I hope, Yang Chen's efforts, her ambitions.
Yeah,
But I hope I don't think we need a Zeto book. I don't.
I don't want a Zeto book
I think that
at all.
book
I
would
don't
be a
even.
that book would be a ledger. But
What if Zeto's really cool?
what if Zeto didn't want to be a finance guy and he's got all these hidden talents that nobody knows about
Yeah,
that he can't use because they're just like sit down and figure this out, and he's like fine.
yeah. But yeah, Zet. It's
Zeto be like the first blue spirit, Chris, or something like. He's got an image to keep up on public face,
Oh,
right?
you think he has a secret identity?
But
That would be
then,
cool.
yeah, then he's got like a separate crime fighting identity, but where he.
That would be. Dang it, Sean! You're making me excited for a Zeto book. That's never good.
But okay, but here's the thing: is he a? I'm trying to figure out how to make so that he could use his bending in various places, but without people being like, well, he's got 4 different kinds of bending. He's the
No,
Avatar.
he puts on a different mask for different
I'm
ones.
wondering what if he almost doesn't bend, or he like bends discreetly, like we see in this book, like bends in ways that you don't really notice. Like a firebender wouldn't notice him doing this little airbending thing to propel himself to leap farther. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind
Yeah,
of crafty. So it doesn't like he's a bender at all. And then he turns out to be
Zeto
an
was
awesome crime fighter.
Zeto was secretly
He's kind of Batman.
a hero. If Zeto was secretly Batman, you know how much I would love Zeto then.
Chris, we just invented the best avatar. The political face, right? And then the
We
I
need to write this book.
no, Chris, I really like this idea of, like I said, he's using bending
Yeah,
that like whatever environment he's in, like he's gonna subtly use bending to do things that they won't pick up on because they're not benders, and so it just looks like he's a normal guy. Nobody'd accuse him of being an avatar because he's not bending at all that they can see.
yeah, and he would probably have to resort to this because his public face is like so Fire Nation. He doesn't want to bring shame on anybody for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, this is so
in fact,
cool.
he probably has to take out corrupt higher officials in the Fire Nation,
Guys he
but he
works
can't
with
do it
during the
as Zeto.
day. That's how he
Yeah.
finds the
Oh my
corruption, Chris.
god.
He runs the books, he sees the corruption.
Yeah.
And he goes to other nations to help them out with their stuff, and then he's got to make it look like he leaves, right? He left like yesterday. Okay, well today,
Yeah.
high end official gets assassinated in the Earth Kingdom. Even though he's gone, he can't be accused, and somehow he gets back. We'll figure it out. Chris, that's a great book. We got to write
Yeah.
FC right now and tell him to ditch this heist garbage and get on the comic train.
Speaking of CE, I'm not sure that he's gonna write another book. Like in the forward or backward, whatever you call it.
In the back version.
Um he says, oh, it just seemed his acknowledgments, that's what they call it. I mean, just the way he talks, he says, as of writing these acknowledgments, it'll be 5 years that I've spent writing roles in the Avatar universe. That's an eighth of my life, currently. More years that I spent in college. I worked on these books longer than I've stayed at any single company in my day job. Half the time my partner has known me, I've been writing for this franchise. It's given me career highs, mental ups and downs, and perspectives on being an author that I never would have gained elsewhere. And he goes on to say, my 5 years might seem like a long time to me in retrospect, but it's only a brief slice of the universe's long life A life kept vibrant by the love of so many viewers, readers, and creatives. By the cycle of the seasons, new stories will continue to grow forth and inspire us all. I will be watching and reading, grateful for the time I shared with Avatar. So that sounded pretty final.
Um,
A hint of finality to it.
and Chris, I think that's a nice-ish segue here to maybe final thoughts, and then one more tidbit that you had to offer.
Final thoughts. I really love reading this book, getting to know more of Yangchen and even Kavik. Um, yeah, some of the timey-wimey stuff. It worked for me 2 out of 3 times, and like you said, that one time just felt so unnecessary. One time I thought it was very, very necessary. Another time I thought, okay, it was like, oh, okay, I
I
didn't
know
mind.
we're in the
Um,
exact same ones too. I know exactly which one you felt that way. And again, the only reason I'm forgiving it for the one that like unnecessary is because I put myself in Kavik's eyes more often in this
mm,
book. That made it okay to
yeah.
me.
But I am, in general, I am really surprised how much I love this book. Coming off the last one, because I just liked the last one. I liked it in the sense of, oh, I learned more about the Avatar universe. Because anytime I can learn more lore about the Avatar universe, I freaking love it. But this time, I'm like, all right, invested in so many
For sure.
of these characters and what's going on. I'm mainly invested in uh, Chasey, Yangchen, Kavik, and and forgot his dang it. I can
Ju-
never say his name
Juji?
right.
Jujinta?
Oh yeah, he was good too. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm glad.
Kalyan. Sorry,
Yeah.
Kalyan.
Yes, Kyle Young. Yeah,
Kalyan. Yeah,
but Junji being back, that was good.
that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say if you really can't read this and appreciate it without the first. You
yeah,
just it's not gonna have the same
definitely.
impact. So if you read the first and if you're anything above dislike on the first one, read this one and you will like it more. Almost
Yeah.
certainly. Chris, you had one more tidbit you wanted to offer before we shut it down this evening.
Oh yeah, we forgot to bring up the last couple weeks, maybe the last month or so. There's a new Iroh book coming out. Um, I forget what's called. I think it's called The Dragon and the Bounty Hunter. I think that's what it's called.
Probably
So it's
not written
about.
by FCE.
It is not. It's one of those kind of short comic books, which I think people are expecting too much from these. Like people are like new Iroh series. You know how people like companies, public whatever websites like to
We're
be.
going through it right now with like
Uh,
conference realignment in
yeah,
college sports. Man, people are like people take the smallest thing. I've
yeah.
never, yeah.
Like the headline says like a new Iroh series is coming out from Avatar Studios, and like one thing when people read it, they think it's an animated series, and also it would be hard to call this an Iroh series because it's just one book. A series, you gotta be more than one. This
To
is
me, a
one book.
series is three.
Yeah, at least.
That's cute.
And this is a really short book. Like I don't expect much from the Azula book coming out because it's a very short book. I'm not expecting much from this book. This book has to do with Iroh and June, Bounty Hunter. So we'll see if he makes up from some of his stuff we brought up in the character assassination. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Overcomes being a perv. They'll probably play into that
Yeah.
more, if anything. Hey, thanks for watching Avatar The Last Podcasters. If you have read the book or you're never going to read the book, either of those two, come back next week. Otherwise, if you're on the fence or you're not sure yet, next week and possibly the week after are just going to be literal all spoilers. Lots of details, extensive talk, just us getting to explore our feelings on a bullet by bullet basis. So, not that we don't
We'll
want you to
we'll
listen.
recap it. We might be able to recap in a way that will be in order. So like if you're like not all the way done, we won't
That'd be
like we'll go
nice.
in order.
Yeah, that would be nice. Follow up to a certain point, and we'll try to dictate to some degree what point of the book we are, so you can stop and start.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, I'm Shawn. That's Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. Thanks for watching. I'll put the details down in the description like always, and we'll see you next time.
In my head, Bat That Thing Up is going with Arthur. still? Like we're like playing out to that song.
I think we should. I think
Hey,
we should play out to the
what a
Arthur theme
wonderful
song.
Monday.
Kind of bringing me some childhood nostalgia back. Feels good.
You gotta